Good day and welcome to everyone. I'm delighted that we have all come together today to discuss such an important topic. So, the goal of this discussion is to learn from one another and to hear everyone's perspective. But before that, let us first introduce ourselves. So, I'll go first, followed by Neil, Gabby, and lastly Bert. So, hello, my name is Nia Nee, but you can call me Noy, and I will be your facilitator. And I will lead this discussion and ensure that everyone has an opportunity to speak.
Hello everyone, I'm Neil Vocal. You can just call me Neil.
Hello, everyone. My name is Gabriel Maritidoy, but you can all call me Gabby.
Hello everyone, I am Bert Viana and you can call me Bert for short.
Okay, so I would like you to know that the following question has been planned for starting a new discussion on teenage pregnancy. So if you do not understand the questions, let me know and I will try to clarify them. So everyone will have 2 minutes to speak, but before you start to speak, okay, after the previous person, take a moment to allow yourself to internalize what has just been said. Now, let's get back to our topic, which is teenage pregnancy. This is a serious social problem that needs to be addressed, right? And teenage pregnancy is becoming a major issue, not just here in the Philippines, but all over the world. So, research has revealed that almost 15 million teen pregnancies occur every year, and these teen pregnancies are most common in developing countries where teenagers lack parental monitoring and that they are unaware of modern birth control methods. So, unplanned pregnancies occur at all levels of age, creed, and race, with a particularly negative impact among the teenage population. So, with this is a very concerning issue, right, that needs to be discussed to raise awareness and also provide alternative solutions to lessen the negative effects it has on youth. Now, let's discuss the social stigma associated with sex and its resulting health crises. Could you, Bert, share some of your thoughts on this?
Okay, so the rise of the cases of teenage pregnancies have sought alarming numbers through the years, with heightened occurrences in the age span of 13 to 19 years old. In many communities, adolescent pregnancies, especially the unmarried pregnancies, carry a social stigma because most of their pregnancies are unwanted and unplanned. It is happening in every socioeconomic group, and in developing countries, early pregnancies are commonly associated with poverty and lower educational levels. So, there are several considerable factors that could be the reason behind this issue, with the social stigma around sex being the epicenter of it. Some of the stigmas surrounding sex are rooted from some individual religious affiliations, cultural preferences, chismes or unproven hearsays, and the fear of being judged with one's sexually involved activities. Social stigmas about sex are rampant in several countries, including our own, which is to be expected since, first, sex in the Philippines is considered to be a taboo, especially in kids and teenagers, and the lack of grounded information and guidance from adults have resulted in children being ignorant on the topic, thus paving way to their hunger for curiosity. And lastly, the lack of sex education in scholarly institutions. Like the ones mentioned before, the information on sexual topics are not very well grounded in the country, even in schools where everyone are expected to learn significant information necessary for thriving. Additionally, teen mothers are stigmatized for violating age norms for parenting and for being members of devalued racial or socioeconomic groups. Stereotypes of young mothers perpetuate stigma by teen pregnancy, prevention campaigns, television shows, sex education programs, professionals, and the general public.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Bert. Now, Miss Gabby, would you mind sharing some of your thoughts on this?
Yes, I see the point of Mr. Bert. Teenage pregnancy in the Philippines is very rampant and mostly uncontrollable. Some parents consider talking sex as a taboo, and I believe that it does not help those children from having the knowledge of what is the right thing to do. Mostly, Those teenagers that get pregnant are the ones who are curious about the deeds. Parents should not limit the child's knowledge about it so that teenagers won't do such deeds or that teenagers can prevent themselves from getting pregnant. Also, the lack of sexual education in our country does not help those teenagers from having the right knowledge about sex.
All right. Thank you, Miss Gab. How about you, Mr. Neil? Anything you'd like to add?
Yes, I actually do see Mr. Bird's point is, and it is actually observable in our current situation. A lot of teenagers are unaware of how to protect themselves with unwanted pregnancies. And just to dive into the action without the knowledge and the rational thinking about the outcomes. I also agree with Miss Gabby's statement that talking and learning about sex shouldn't be a taboo for us to know what is wrong and what is not wrong when doing the devil's tango. Also, this type of parents to kids conversation regarding the topic should be practiced because this could help the children to determine in the future if they are assaulted or not, because some young adults tends to repress the assaults because they think it is normal.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Neil Vocal. So, as Bert noted earlier, no, that children are clueless on the matter due to a lack of learned information and advice from adults. So, which is um, pertinent to the next discussion, which is on the effects of inadequate sex education in the Philippines. So, Mr. Neil, would you like to share your thoughts on this?
Yes, no, I do believe that the lack of sexual education reinforces existing taboos and leads to sex by trial and error. Possible impotence or lack of satisfaction, guilt complexes, and where the contraceptive advice is lacking, unwanted pregnancies, and abortion because of ignorance. Sexual repression may lead to sexual violence and deviancy.
Oh, so do we actually have sex ed in our schools?
Yes, in fact, the Department of Education has rolled out a comprehensive sexuality education K 12 curriculum guide starting with regions 1, 7, and 11 regions with the supposed highest rate of teen pregnancy. Accompanying the curriculum are depth ed teachers trainings on CSE. But lesson plans aren't enough, and the government has acknowledged this by aiming to link classroom lessons to actual reproductive health interventions in the community facilities. To combat the continuous rise of teenage pregnancy rates in the country, President enacted Executive Order 141, which prioritizes the implementation of measures addressing adolescent pregnancies in the country and mobilizes government agencies for the said purpose. Another factor for sex education being a taboo in the Philippines is because of religious beliefs. Around 80% of the Philippine population identifies as Roman Catholic. Accordingly, the Catholic Church largely influences the state of sex education in the country. The Catholic Church opposes sex outside of marriage and fears sex education will increase sexual relations. The Catholic Church consequently remains critical of the RH Act, increasing difficulties in putting the RH Act into concrete action. Additionally, the Catholic Church opposes implementing sex education in school, as well as the distribution of contraceptives. The Church prefers to rely on parents to teach their children or kids about reproductive health. However, many families are either unequipped to do so or will not address the subject directly with their children. Advocates are pointing out that the current government curriculum is still based on conservative values, and what they would like to see instead is the usage of positive sexuality framework rather, which is an approach that teaches sex as a natural and healthy part of life instead of something that should be ashamed of.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Neil. Miss Gabby, would you mind sharing some of your thoughts on this?
Yes, I do see the point of sex education in schools, though I wasn't that aware based on my experience that it was implemented in our curriculum since I haven't encountered a proper sex ed subject back then. One thing that I could recommend is that hopefully Dep Ed would adapt with what Mr. Vocal stated as positive sexuality framework so that kids won't be laughing or be weirded out when it is sex is talked about in school.
Okay, thank you, Miss Gab. How about you, Mr. Bert? Anything you'd like to add?
Yes, so, okay. The lack of sexual education, both at home and educational institutions, could be considered the root of, of social sexual stigmas, and the problem of unwanted teenage pregnancies itself is not new in the country. It is a generational dilemma that had just been put face on the mainstream media due to its amassed number of cases. With this, it could be said that it is not only students and teenagers who need sexual education, but adults as well to minimize sexual trauma, fix bad parenting styles, and to increase the awareness that sexual education is an important topic we should not take a blind eye on.
Wow, thank you for that, Mr. Neil. Now, we will go on to our last topic, and this is for you, Miss Tidoy. Do you have any suggestions on ways to prevent teenage pregnancy now that we know how harmful it may be?
There are numerous methods for preventing a teenage girl from becoming pregnant, but sexual abstinence is the only one that is 100% effective. That is the only procedure that eliminates the risk of pregnancy and protects the teens from STDs. In addition, numerous contraceptive procedures are being taught in schools as a form of teenage pregnancy prevention. Abstinence remains the best approach to prevent pregnancy among teenagers, but a considerable majority of them will still be involved in sexual interactions. As a result, it is essential that youth are given a wide understanding of how to do so safely by using various contraceptions methods.
All right. Miss Gabby, I'd like to also add something that I have learned from what you have said earlier that teenage pregnancy is preventable, right? And I think it is also much better not to have an early, comprehensive, and effective sex education, including parental monitoring and contraceptive prevention, because I think this is also an important key that needs to start by the parents at home and reinforced continually at school and primary care office. How about you, Mr. Neil Vocal? What is your um, insight about this?
Yes, as I've discussed earlier, prevention is a very, really good thing to do in this type of situation, as overpopulation is already a problem in our country. This might help the country a little if they're practicing safe sex. Also, a lot of children are abandoned or not raised properly by their parents because the parents are not ready with the commitment, ending up kids being thrown away literally, or being placed in foster or being raised by the grandparents, which these actions are big no-no.
Mr. Burt, anything you'd like to add?
Okay, so I do agree with Ms. Gab's several mentioned points on the importance of prevention of unwanted pregnancy, especially, realistically speaking, sexual abstinence, where despite being 100% effective, it is quite impossible to achieve, especially for inquisitive teenagers who seek answers to their sexual desires and interests. With this, Ms. Gab's other introduced method, the use of contraceptive measures such as condoms, pills, and various contraceptive implants are the best way to go in avoiding unwanted pregnancies.
Okay, wow. Guys, this was a wonderful discussion, and I hate to say it, but we've come to the end of it, and I don't believe there's ever a perfect time to end it. And I hope you have gained some insight from each other's viewpoints, and I hope we'll take some time to condense the important points of the discussion into a form that can be shared with others. So, thank you, guys, and you may leave the meet now. Good day.
Good day.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.